Hi, Adam from Sideways 8 and 48 in 48 here, and I'm going to help you today in planning out your website pages and building a sitemap so that you know how the pages should be structured. So, first thing we want to do is talk about what is a sitemap. So, a sitemap is the way that you're going to lay out the information of your website. It's a way of visually displaying the pages and how they're going to lay out. So what pages are going to be a part of your main navigation, which pages are going to be a part of your sub navigation, and how you might want to mix and match those around. We find that it's really helpful for nonprofits to lay out this information ahead of time so that when they go to create pages, they can understand the context in which that page is going to be viewed on the website. And doing it visually just tends to help people in terms of really understanding how the information is organized. The next thing to consider is what pages you need. So that's going to be different for every organization. In a moment, I'll show you the sitemap that I've created that's just kind of a demo sitemap and goes through sort of the basic pages. But ultimately, what you have to do is consider what is your organization about, what information are you attempting to communicate, and what do your users want to know when they come to your website? So are they coming to your website to find out about an event? If that's the case, then an events page should be at the top level of your navigation. Are they coming out to donate? If that's the case, then donate should be at the top level of your navigation. However, if events is a really, really small component of what you're doing, then events may be a sub page underneath the About Us page, for example. So there's a lot of kind of different ways to organize it, and it's really going to depend on what you do, the story you're trying to tell, and what the users of your website want to learn when they're coming to your website. I would encourage you to think through what's most important for you to communicate. So, for example, the story of the founding of your organization is probably not nearly as important as a page about the services that you offer. And so you'd want to have your services page in the top level navigation, but you would probably put the history page in some kind of sub-level navigation because while that may be interesting to you and may be interesting to some of your users, it's not of preeminent importance for most people visiting your site. So next, let's take a look at an example sitemap, and then I'll show you how to create a sitemap. For this, I'll be using Google Presentation, which is a part of Google Drive, and so it's free. So if you have a Gmail account, you're able to set this up and use this by going to docs.google.com, and you can do exactly what I'm doing here if you choose to do that. You can also do this pretty easily in Keynote or in PowerPoint if you choose to. So here is an example sitemap. So you can see here the top level navigation is Home, About Us, Services, Events, and Contact Us. That's just kind of a standard pair of page or set of pages that most nonprofits would need. Now, if you're an organization that doesn't do events, for example, clearly you wouldn't need that, but you may want to substitute something else in there for that. For example, donations would be a really important thing to consider putting in there. Or maybe you don't offer services. Maybe you have a resource library, so maybe you put resources there instead or something like that. And then underneath About Us, you can see that's where we broke out About Us into history, our staff, our founders, and services. We want to break those down into Service 1, Service 2, Service 3, and so on. And we want to do this because you don't want your pages to overburden and sort of scare away your site users. Instead, you really want to make sure that the pages are serving them and are helpful to them. And so you want to keep your page content as short as you can. So I would put, your dedicated history in one particular history page. I'd put all the information about your staff in one staff page. I'd put all the information about your founders and background, everything else in a different page. And same thing for services. If you have 15 different services, trying to put all of those on one page and give a great deal of detail on them is going to overwhelm your users, and you don't want to do that. So instead, you want to give maybe on your services page, maybe you have a brief overview of a flyover of what the services are, but ultimately you want to split that up into subpages underneath. So here is how I created that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new slide here. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of the boxes that are currently here. Next, I'll take the line tool and I'm just going to draw a straight line across. This will be our main navigation, just kind of helps us line things up and make it look all nice and neat. Then I'm going to go to the shape tool and just choose a rectangle. Okay, well I tapped and it made me a rectangle, so we'll just work with that. Let's get it about the right dimensions. There's no science to this here. and I'm going to line it up on this line. And then because I like for things to be uniform, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to just paste it several times over, and I'm going to place those on the line here. So you can see that Google Presentation helps me to line things up nicely, which is really, really handy. And then I can go in here, just double click, and type in home, about us, let's see, services, let's do a donate now, and contact us. So that's our top level of navigation. Now let's go ahead and do some sub-levels of navigation. So again, I'm going to go back to my line tool. I'm going to start at this dot and just draw a straight line down. Then I'll do the same thing here. Then I'm going to go back to my rectangle. I'm going to draw a slightly smaller rectangle so it's very evident that this is a smaller page, or a lesser page in a sense. It looks about right. And I'm going to go ahead and put in here and put in history. And I'm also going to go ahead and make that text smaller so that it's very evident that this is a smaller subpage. And then I'm going to copy this, paste. So history, staff, founders. Then I'm going to clean up this line just because I'm a perfectionist. So let's get rid of that line. Okay, and then let's copy again, or let's paste again, sorry. And we'll put, let's line that up, services. Let's make that service 1. Service 2. Service 3. Okay, my line's a little crooked, so I'll have to go back and fix that later, but I think you get the idea. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and build out a sitemap like this, and that will prepare you for how you want to build your pages once you get access to your WordPress development site. Once you get access to that site, then what you'll do is you'll go in and you'll create the home page. You'll create the About Us, Services, Donate Now, and Contact Us, and then you'll create each of these pages as sub-pages underneath About Us and underneath Services. And so that way, when you're starting out, you'll already know exactly what the structure is going to be. You'll know the main pages to start with, and then you'll know how to create the sub-pages underneath that, and you'll be all set. Thanks, and if you have any questions as you go through this process, please make sure to reach out and let your project manager know.